Hey, welcome back again. Plant Boss here, coming to you from Provo, Utah, in the heart of the Rockies. Have you ever wondered how you could get a fruit tree into your urban garden? Or maybe have a fruit tree growing on a patio or a balcony? I've got a solution for you, Espaliers. Espalier comes from the Italian word for shoulder, and when you see what we're going to create today, you'll understand why they are called shoulder fruit. So, let's go. Okay, the first step that we need to do with these espaliers is to prune the fruit tree. But prior to that, you should have selected a fairly healthy tree, about 3 to 5 years old, that's in no more than a 5-gallon pot. Any larger than that, the branches become more brittle on the tree, and it's a little hard to manipulate them on the trellis work that we're going to be using. Also too, you need to select a pot that will be appropriate for the space that you want it in your urban garden. Also remember too that espaliers can be done directly into the ground along a fence line. But we're going to focus more on planting them in a pot because I think that's a lot more fun and it's a way to green up a space in a cityscape. Alrighty, so once you have your pot and your fruit selected, then we're ready to begin. Right now we're going to be using a Red Delicious apple tree. I found that Red Delicious branching works best for espaliers, but you really can use any variety of apple tree. I also recommend pear trees for espaliers. Other fruit trees tend to be a little bit more problematic, so apples and pears are the best. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pair of pruning shears and we're going to decide on 2 sets of branches that we're going to use in the espalier. Now you can also use the dominant branch of the tree, which in this case is this particular branch right here. And you can use that as your top set of branches for the espalier. Then you're going to remove all of the other branches. Now don't be afraid to do this. Cut very close to the trunk. Remove your branch. We're going to remove this one here in the front too. So we have a nice clean cut with a good sharp pair of pruning shears. Now I have got 4 branches total, 2 sets, the upper 2 set and the lower set. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to prune away any unnecessary branches. Now what I would like you to consider is that on each branch, as you go to the very base of the branch, you will see that there is a set of primary leaves towards the joining of the trunk. Those are called basal leaves. We don't want to cut past them. So your basal grouping is going, in this case on this branch, is going to be those 3 leaves there. We're going to cut at an angle just above that leaf there. Then we're also going to do the same on this branch here and this branch here. We're basically straightening the branches so that we just have very, very short growth branchings on the branches we are going to use. And you can even prune some of these off completely if necessary. And in this case, I'm going to take this one off completely so that one goes all the way out on the trellis. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. Alrighty. Now the tree may look a little sorry to you right now, but I promise you when we're done, it's going to be really, really cool. All right, once we have all of our cutting done, we're going to prepare our pot. And remember, this pot has been pre-prepared. I've already got my plastics in the bottom. You need to do about 1 layer of plastics, which takes up about 3 to 4 inches at the bottom of the pot. And you can use rock too if you like. I just like to recycle the plastic. Then on top of that, you're going to put another 3 to 4 inches of soil so that the root system of the tree has something to rest on. Once that's complete, you're going to take the tree and remove it from the pot. And sometimes that is not an easy task. And then you're going to break the root ball up just a little bit. We want to get these roots from growing out of that circular pattern. Do not remove all of the soil from the roots. I had a friend of mine do that once and the tree died of shock. So make sure you leave soil around the roots, but get those roots so they're out of that circular growth. And then you're going to place that into the pot. You want to make sure, you need to decide what the back and the front of your tree are going to be, because you'll put your trellis work along the back. In this case, this is the back for me. But if I turn it around, you can see that this is a bit more pleasing, and these will be able to be tied off onto the trellis work a little more easily than from the other direction. Once you have your tree in the pot, before putting all the soil in, move it to the space that you're going to have it remain in. The reason for this is this can become a very heavy planting to move once you've got extra soil and water it. So make sure you move it to where you're going to keep the tree. Now that we have the tree in the pot, I just wanted to remind you folks that we're also going to need an Espalier trellis for the Espalier. What I'd like to recommend is we've got another video out there that is about building a trellis specifically for an Espalier. Have a look at that video so you can learn how to build one yourself. That way you don't have to buy one. You can just get the ingredients for it and put it together. Once you've got your trellis all made, it's time to put some more soil around the tree here. We're going to make sure that this is relatively centered in the pot as close as you can get it, because remember, this has been growing in another pot, so it's going to be just a little off center sometimes. So now we've got that soil in there just how we need it. The Espalier is nice and steady. I'm going to take this and move this down again off the table. And here is our Espalier trellis already pre-measured, ready to go. You're going to put the trellis as close up to the tree as you can get it and into the pot. There we go. We have that all set to go. Now we are going to tie off the branches. You will need 8 coated wire ties, and you can just get this. This is just typical electrical wire that has been coated. You can get this at your local hardware store. And we're going to tie first this first branch to as close as we can get it to the trunk and around the trellis work. Get it fairly tight on there. The coated wire I have found is really, really nice, and using wire, because it's strong, is just great because it holds the branching in place, but it doesn't cut into the tree itself. Now you may not get that right up close to the trellis because of the way the branch has grown in the past, but as time goes by, you can adjust those so that you can get as close to the trellis as you possibly can. Next, you're going to tie one about 6 inches from the end of the cross stake here. So we have that branch nice and tied and going the direction that we want. We'll go grab this one over here, and you're just going to proceed and do the same thing with the remaining 4 branches. Now we've left the 6-foot stakes long like this on purpose, because if you decide to do another level or another set of branching, you have got room to drill another cross stake into the 2 stakes that are holding the plant upright. Now, once you have those tied off, it's time to prune one more time, and I like to prune these so that they only go to the edge of the cross stakes for starters. If they get too far out there, as people walk by, they can hit them in the face or something like that, and that can be very uncomfortable for people. Now that the Espalier is done, I want to put it back up here on the table. And you can see how interesting these look. Now what will happen is next year in the spring, as the apple tree branches and buds out, you'll start seeing close to the basal cuttings that we've left on here is where you're going to see blossoms and new leaves appear. And your fruit will be growing along. It'll be very, very easy to harvest when it's harvest time. It's much easier to take care of an Espalier than a full-blown fruit tree. And it also adds some really great appeal to an urban garden or a deck or a patio in a space where normally you wouldn't have anything interesting. The final step that you're going to want to do for your Espalier is to water it well and also do some fertilizer. Watering Espaliers is very easy. You water them daily, especially during the season. Fertilizing is another easy step for espaliers. You just need to get 3 fruit tree stakes and stake them into the planting. I recommend Job's fruit tree stakes as they last for 6 months. That way you can fertilize once in the spring and once in the fall. Espaliers are not only amazing to look at, but they are a productive planting to have on any deck or in any garden. As espaliers increase in size, you may want to consider a larger container or just planting them in the ground along a fence where they can be tied and guided. Remember, espaliers need to be watered daily. In general, you should plan on pruning once in early spring and again in midsummer. Pest control should also occur in early spring, then is needed during the growing season. Always remember to follow instructions closely for any pest control options. Remember, all the items we talked about today are available at McCoard's Gardens or at your local retail nursery. Thank you for joining the Plant Boss today in creating an amazing espalier. Remember, subscribe below and comment to us so we know what you'd like to see in future videos. Peace, love, and remember to lift someone through gardening.